What's up, guys? So it is Labor Day technically in the United States and in Canada, and absolute beautiful day, 79 degrees Fahrenheit, not a cloud in the sky. It's kind of washing it out, but there you see blue skies. And just wanted to probably label this video free range slaves, and just to grab your attention. But we see a lot of complaining out there, whether it be about inflation, whether it be about the social contract, whether it be about the game theory of this economy that we live in, and just everything that we're kind of dealing with. And I kind of mentioned this in a previous video. This is kind of like a microcosm out here, and I had to walk away from the track. Actually, I was doing sprints on the inside of the track, touching grass, and a couple guys came out to do a track workout, and they started up the sound system, or had the music going and stuff like that. And it's good to see, because people say, like, well, this new generation, they're soft and they don't get after it. Well, practice has not started for track. I talked to one of the guys. He's primarily 800 and 1500, and indoor season, they won't have their first meet until late December, early January, and practice for the fall has not started up yet. So he's a ways off from competing, but he was getting after it. So at the end of the day, the upper 5 percentile is still going after it. The other 95% has given up on the social contract. And Labor Day is somewhat to honor the workers who kind of built the backbone of this country. And we sit there and debate around this, that, and the other, who's kind of taking the brunt of that, and who's kind of taken on been used, or who's benefited off of that. But the thing that I always go back to is, for one, my generation, like, I never got drafted for any kind of war or something like that. We didn't have like a Vietnam or World War II or something like that. So get drafted, we did not get drafted into a war. So that's one thing. And I'm healthy, and I pretty much know that I can just like live off the land. Like today I was just eating pawpaws off the tree, and those are ripe. If you kind of know what those are, throughout the Midwest and up into Ontario, those grow. They grow down in Arkansas too, actually. So those are, I don't know, it's just kind of like at different parts of the year, you've got different things that grow, and you could fish and live off the land and stuff if things got really bad. So I know that sounds kind of silly, but that puts me at peace, because I'm like, I will survive. Now, that being said, as far as the game theory is concerned and the social contract kind of falling apart, a lot of the stuff like the engineering, IT, accounting, it does not pay more than it paid 20 years ago. The teaching as well. And you'll see it now. Like, teachers used to be, let's say, like some, like, whatever, like, 58 or 60-year-old woman that wore like a dress every day or something like that. And now it'll be like some like 23-year-old chick with an arm sleeve tattoo and a nose ring piercing. That's like your teacher. And then it's just kind of like a revolving door. A lot of people quit. A lot of people, some kind of situation happens, they get the boot. But yeah, I mean, teachers around here, if you were to start out teaching or something like that, I mean, you would be lucky to make like $40,000 a year with the teaching. Yeah, they get the summers off and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just giving you relative. And as far as gas prices relative, gas is right around like $3.20 here. So things are relative. There's people on the other side of the world thinking, man, like, you live in the United States, there's so much opportunity, it's so nice there, everybody's rich, all that kind of stuff. It's very expensive to live here, and the wages and stuff like that have not kept up. I just saw a video recently where a couple, they had moved, and they were actually technically in Thailand currently, but they did not really have much money. They got enough money together to just like leave the United States, and then their whole thing is like, they weren't rich and then like they're living over there and stuff like that. It's like they were able to reduce their expenses a lot by getting out of the United States. And I think that's going to be more and more and more kind of a point of people's existence is going to be a lot of geomaxing, whether that's to move to more remote parts of the United States, kind of shift around different states, and then like ultimately leave the country. Because I think that this kind of again, the social contract has broken down. The game theory has broken down. It's falling apart. That's why so many people are kind of quitting. I've noticed at the gas stations and those kind of places, and like grocery stores and stuff like that, it's a revolving door. People are just quitting all the time. They'll be there for a couple weeks, get tweaked out, be high on the job, no call, no show, they're gone. And I just think we're just going to see a lot more of that over the next 5 or 10 years. Situation is going to get worse, and we already know that stuff like Social Security is Ponzonomics, and the banks have a 0% reserve requirement. Let me repeat that. Since March of 2020, the banks have a 0% reserve requirement. Their money is not backed. The money is not backed by even 1 second worth of anybody's work. They shouldn't ever really go insolvent at that point, and they can't walk it back. I want to emphasize that the banks cannot walk this back, and any kind of thing of pegging the U.S. currency partially back to gold or to Bitcoin and stuff like that, that is nonsense. They cannot walk it back. You want this new, big bloated bill, 5.5 trillion or whatever it is. It's just going to be this print. And, a lot of the inefficiencies and a lot of the things, the way that a lot of these organizations are ran, that you're going to have a hard time competing with the big automakers, with a lot of these grocery store chains. They came in, they took over, over a span of 20, 30 years, and the competition was kind of squashed out. And to go up against their inefficiencies, their largely inefficient, mechanism, it's very hard to compete with them because they are so big, and they do dictate so much of the economy at this point. So, you'll get one side saying like, well, it's corporate greed. You're not hearing a lot of people say that it's the 0% reserve requirement. Our money is not backed by anything. That is not going to end well. And how long can it fester out? I mean, that's everybody's best guess, but my guess is that we're 8 years behind Japan as far as kind of like this sort of social collapse, as far as the birth rates, and there's like 7 million empty houses in Japan. I think we're 8 years behind kind of that situation, because the newer generation isn't as big. People have not had as many kids, and then you get the aging population and stuff like Social Security is Ponzonomics, so that's not really going to be there for the millennials and Gen Z. Now what they'll do is they'll make people collect later, so it'll be like this moving carrot. It'll be like the donkey, like riding with the carrot hung out there. That's how Social Security is going to be. Everybody's like kind of chasing this carrot, and then you're being given a credit score by an entity that basically is broke and has like insane amounts of debt, and all these countries have all this kind of insane amount of debt, and it's just like, okay, like when did this kind of like free range slave situation, when was that kind of the perfect kind of slave situation? Because you think, okay, like at different points in different nations histories, there's been slaves, and then there's been indentured servants and stuff like that, and now it's perfect because the people can go out there and say, oh, you can get a piece of your dream and stuff like that, and then it's all a facade, like in a lot of ways. And we're forced to play the game because we're like, okay, like you could sit there and just kind of like lay flat. That's like a Chinese thing where a lot of the people have given up and they're laying flat and doing the minimum, and they look at it and it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It doesn't make sense to go out there and just be beating themselves to death to get nothing. And these younger generations are being asked to work for free, but then this inflation is catching up with the older generations as well, because they thought it was safe to maybe retire at 65. Well, that money that they're collecting is not going to go far enough, and their insurance is going to go up, their property taxes are going up, they can't escape it, and they're trapped. And we're going to see that more and more people just getting forced out of their properties, becoming broke at an old age. And the thing is, here's the thing, someone like myself or someone who's whatever, they're 25 or whatever age they're at, and they're able-bodied, they can kind of work themselves out of it. The the people that are like 75, 80, they can't necessarily like get out there and like work their way to even just survive. I'm not gonna say like it's hard to work your way out of anything now, the way the numbers are. So I think we're gonna see like some of those things unravel. But I would say maximum kind of like slaveonomics um, was probably the 70s or 80s, because if we went off, if we went off the gold standard completely, like in 71, then when you kind of got to maybe like 75 or something like that, it's like people are still kind of like trying to use this 1950s playbook. But another thing that people that they don't really equate to all this is the fact that so much of the competition in the workforce was actually removed after, like during World War II, because so many men died. I mean, like 400,000 or something like that men died. American men died in like World War II. So the competition was reduced. So like each man was more valuable per capita kind of thing after the war. And then same thing in Vietnam. These guys got sent over the jungle. I mean again, these wars are just ridiculous. But these guys got sent over there and everything. A lot of guys died, and a lot of guys were stuck over there. And we were there pretty much from whatever, the mid 60s to like 72. So I would say like that was kind of maximum slave theory. Now it's broken down so far that even the younger generations are like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense for me to work that hard or go do that, because there's not going to be anything in it for them. And that's where things unravel. But I think this thing could last another 10 or 20 years. I would say enjoy your health and look for the exit. Where are you guys going to move to? I've done my research. I've done my research where it'd be better. But I mean, even if you hunker down in the Midwest or something, but at the end of the day, you got to question yourself. It's like, well, what's that going to get you? I mean, it might get you some peace of mind, watching some sunsets and stuff like that, but just a lot of the social contracts just not there. So it's like, I kind of firmly believe we should probably always be by water and stuff. So I look at Croatia and I look at Montenegro, or like Southeast Asia, like Thailand or Bali. And I just love being on the water, man. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys think. Happy Labor Day. Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, and Twitter. Hive, DTube, Blur, everywhere.